Hi, welcome to First Pages. Got some fluffy hair going on today. That's can't get away with that with the humidity in this area. So today I have for you a paranormal type story by Terry Maggart called Halfway Dead. With a swinging dismount, I rolled my bicycle to a stop and looked at the vague trail before me. To my eyes, the path was clear. To a tourist, not so much. Footfalls had scraped and cleared a distinct runnel through the late summer flowers and weeds, which were the same thing if you thought about it. Sometimes being pretty made people find pests less offensive, I guess. That was a common theme in my line of work, or to clarify, my other line of work. I live 1 block from my paying job, which isn't just convenient, it's a necessity, and possibly life-saving given my hometown location. Here are a couple things to know about the Adirondack Mountains. They're beautiful to look at and magical in every way, except in the heart of winter, which is actually all of winter and at least a third of the year. It gets cold, stays cold, and then it gets colder. That's why living a block from the diner I work at isn't just a time saver, it keeps my toes and ears from turning purple. Scratch that, it keeps them from falling off. My family would say I live in town because I have a slight problem with cars. To clarify, I don't have a problem with cars. They have a problem with me. I can kill exactly 2 things in the world, magical critters and cars. Pick a car, any kind, even brand spanking new and filled with that beautiful smell of carpet and leather, and I can turn it into a scrap metal inside of a day. It might be a breakaway truck wheel, a pothole, or a rogue moose, but trust me, I'll find a way to smash that shiny new beauty, and that's why I catch rides from my neighbor's kids. Tristan, the 17-year-old boy, hustles me for gas money, and his 16-year-old sister Julia shakes me down for clothes. They're both criminals who I happen to live near, but until I can afford a tank or a hovercraft with no moving parts, I'm stuck with them and their mafia tactics. I leaned my bike against an alder that curled out over the creek like it was an elephant sniffing for a drink. After loosening my Doc Martens, I placed them next to the front tire and let my feet get to know the sun-warmed grass. No one would be here, and theft wasn't an issue, so I walked on without another thought, enjoying the scenery and merry burbling of the creek. It was quiet, but busy, just like the woods always were when humans move through. We never see all of the commotion that nature has to offer, just glimpses. Maybe we can't be trusted with the whole story. For me, that's good enough. The smell hit my nose before I ever saw anything, an odor of cloying roasted meat that made my stomach flip with indignation. I stopped instantly and took in my surroundings with great detail. Under my bare feet, I felt a variety of smooth stones worn to oblong perfection by the cool water of the river. The trees rustled with the protests of late September, their colors flaring into glory as the days grew short and light grew more precious. The river was low due to the dry weeks of August piling on without mercy. Soon it would rain, but for now my ankles were barely covered with the waning shallows that would ordinarily be several feet of water. It was late afternoon, and silence closed in around me. I drew a long, deep breath and let it trickle from my lungs as I centered my thoughts. Details, consideration, meaning. These were the words that I shaped into emotion within the quiet harbor of my mind. The words gained weight and then outlines. I nudged them like soap bubbles, my touch practiced but firm. Under my small right foot I detected an unusually round pebble. I knelt quietly and plucked it from the water, then held it up to my face in the warm golden light that was spilling through the boughs of the trees lining the creek. The stone was 2 inches across, nearly round, and beautiful in a workmanlike way. Flecks of glittering quartz, polished by time, winked at me, and I smiled back at the cheerful little rock. This one then, I thought, placing the stone carefully on a dry section of the bank that was just at arm's reach. The poison scent of cooking intensified as the breeze shifted, and I began to move with more purpose. I lifted my shoulder-length black hair and looked intently at the odd lock that sprang from a scar hidden behind my right ear. There were red, white, gray, and blonde hairs sprouting wildly from the rugged band of flesh. I plucked a white hair and began wrapping it around the pebble, 3 loops to the left, a pinch, then 3 loops to the right. With the tip of one finger, I drew a glyph, compact with power and meaning. Where my skin touched, the stone warmed and then shimmered with a delicate light. My will, gently insistent, negotiated with the rock, and the two reached an accord in seconds. The stone became lighter, started glowing softly with the light of a sunflower at dawn, and then shrank to fit perfectly in my small palm. My spell complete, I lifted a foot and began to step upstream, silent and focused. The fire was small and bright, and a thick green pine limb hung over the flames. A sizzling piece of meat crowned the pointed end of the stick, and the combined stench of meat and pine sap made my eyes water. Anger flared within me, hot as the fire I approached. I held the stone as a talisman against the truth of the scene and waited. A grunt rattled from a pile of stones that were cleft deeply enough to be a small cave near the outer edge of the river bank. And on that note, the object of my intention stepped out into the light. With a shambling gait, the creature slid down the detritus of its lair and reached for the pine bough. It was tall, emaciated, and colored like the underside of a wet stone. Flaps of skin hung from under its ropey arms. Its eyes flashed with the red of lust and hunger, and greasy talons twitched in anticipation of its meal. I thought it was more corpse-like than alive, but its fangs were real enough. I knew why I'd come here. Ahem! If you could turn this way, please, I asked in my most polite tone. The Wendigo, it could be nothing else, it was too gross to be a mummy, whipped its diseased head to me and hissed. I saw its eyes widen upon measuring me. I have that effect on critters that need killing, and this guy, wherever he'd sprung from, was no different. What the beast saw walking calmly toward it was a petite woman in her 20s, with black hair, a broad smile, and a small round rock in one hand. What it should have noticed was my eyes. They're iron gray with flecks of blue, and when I draw upon my power, they light from within. They would also happen to be the last thing it saw on this earth. Seeing as I was rather small and barefoot, it opened its mouth full of diseased teeth and cackled, sounding something like a dying car horn plugged with chicken feathers. No time like the present, I said, drawing my arm back and throwing the rock unerringly to strike the Wendigo midway across its leathery, putrid chest. My spell unwound like a hyperactive spring as the magic punched down and through the wide rib cage, blasting outward in a shower of intense golden light, and what I sincerely hoped were fragments of the leather rags it had worn. Some things are simply too disgusting to consider for more than a moment. That's a pretty good start, don't you think? That is Halfway Dead by Terry Maggart. If you'd like to find out more about who this person is, what sort of magical creatures she takes out, maybe more than just a Wendigo, what sort of magic she holds, will she ever learn to drive a car and not wreck it? Click the buy links in the description. If you like First Pages, please subscribe to the channel. I post new videos all the time to share these great books with you. Thank you for supporting authors. Thanks for watching. And as always, happy reading.